Skidamarinky dinky dink, skidamarinky doo. I love you. So today, we're trying to get back on track with America, and I've got an awesome guy here, dude and dudettes. Here he is, Michael. What's up?
Here, I was clicking away, going, "Oh, I forgot to click this button." You got it. You got it for me. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I handled all of the necessary clickings to get us in here with minimal disasters. I sung us in with an intro song that goes way back from the late 80s, early 90s. You remember that show? Skidamarinky dinky dink, skidamarinky doo. No, you don't froze on me. But you know what I'm talking about? Remember that song?
Froze? Did I freeze?
I don't know. It could have been me.
Okay.
It's because of my very bad singing.
I recall the song. I don't remember the show. You said late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, it was a kid's show that came on Nickelodeon, and then brings to mind another character that kids grew up on, which was Barney. I love you, you love me. So, does anybody ever correlate the fact that we'll get into a touch bit of geometry, just a little bit?
Touch bit of what?
Geometry type stuff, which is numbers and meanings behind numbers and whatnot. You've heard of this before. People dabble in this, but
geometry. I have to say, I've never heard the word before.
Oh, okay. It's like whenever somebody will take a number and decode it into a letter. Like, in other words, when you see numbers on walls or something, like the time that Trump was giving a speech right after he was in his court hearing with Letitia James, after they announced, hey, 80% of this case is null and void because it's a statute of limitations. Well, the time it was being said was 3:33 p.m. I was like, whoa, what's up with that? Anyways, totally coincidence by all means. But back to the whole Barney thing. There are certain colors that represent certain idea, like, say for instance, there are satanic colors like Tiffany blue, purple, big purple dinosaur. Was that an accident or what?
I'm not tracking with you. Sorry, I was reading comments in the comment section.
as Michael tries to avoid any of this conspiracy theory stuff, he's like, I'm not getting that, not getting in it.
It goes. I had this professor when I was in seminary. I did a couple of years of seminary, and the thing he would use when something goes over someone's head, he would just go omega, omega. You know how the Greek letter omega? You know how it's shaped? It's shaped just like this.
Yeah. It's
omega
also
goes over my head.
You'll see it in schematics whenever they're representing resistance, because that's an actual value used to give you an idea of what kind of resistor you're using for a proper circuit. Anyhow, it's an ohm. Use the ohm for the omega.
Yeah. When something goes over my head now, it's just ingrained in me. It's to say omega. I don't know. I wasn't tracking. Sorry, distracted. I've been distracted morning. Sorry.
You've been distracted. That's better than being despondent. Or disproportionate.
Or discombobulated.
Yeah. So today's show talks about not talking about stuff happening in Iran and the Palestinian people, because there's right now, so Monday hit. So I don't do videos on the weekends because I'm busy with the family and I'm doing other stuff. So I take the weekend off from my YouTube channel. And when all the stuff popped off on Saturday, I was like, whoa. Everybody just jumped right on. Get the videos out. Start cranking it out. I said, I need time to process this. I need to see what's going on. I still don't know what's going on. But long story short, but what I do understand is they've learned from how the debacle of all the propaganda that possibly came out of the other place that's going on. I'm not going to name any names because they're not going to get stricken. But, it starts with, you got the actor guy that's pretending to be president down there. You know what I'm talking about, right? Down in. Do I need to go any further? Are you still following me?
The actor guy pretending to be president. You mean
starts with a U and it's a bird. You know what I'm talking about? A crane. Anyways. They learn whenever you have.
You mean the president of Ukraine?
Yeah, right. Okay, so I've got to be careful.
That actor, the actual comedian.
Yeah, okay. So,
he's really writing some good comedy routines right now, and people are buying it instead of laughing at him. They forgot he's a comedian. He's making all this crap up. Sorry.
Thank you. I don't know how. So Gina be like, just don't strict. So I'll let you lead the way on that one. All right. So Gina being the producer in the back, guys, in case you didn't know, which I'm the producer now for some odd reason. I got bumped up and I didn't even know it. I went from changing oil to actually putting on tires now. Anyhow, so whenever all that stuff was coming out of videos in Ukraine, there was actually debunked. We're like, wait, this is actually a video game footage, and they're trying to claim this happening over here. Yep. This over here. So they're like, wow. And then we had the actors for the CNN pretend like they were over there with dressed up and so called. So what they have done, and what could possibly be happening, because this kind of tragic or like real in your face type stuff, pictures and images, that was never shared like it has been when it came to the Ukraine, to what's happening in Palestine and Israel. It's almost like they want somebody to get behind this, because everybody's tired of what's happening in Ukraine. We're so tired. Everybody's like, okay, we know what the deal is. They're moving money in weird ways. It's weird, so we need to get. So it's lost its steam, and to fire off another event, you have to double down on people's emotions. So that means you've got to double down on the graphic videos. You've got to double down on stuff. There was a report that there were now I'm not going to say it didn't happen, but what I'm going to say is, as of right now, it hasn't been confirmed that the 40 babies who are supposedly, I don't want to talk too much, but something happened to them, has not been. There's so many things that haven't been confirmed, and we know that right now they've got to double down on getting our emotional aspect in line so that they can push through more of this. And the more we feed into it, the more popularity we give to it, the more people will involve in it, that won't go away. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Yes. I heard what you're referring to is the one particular item, and this is the fog of war, right? The fog of war is when your propaganda branch of your military or whatever, the propaganda arm, is going to take and intentionally emphasize falsifiable information, like events, and this notion of 40 babies being, bodies being discovered headless, etc. There seems to be some question as to whether that is valid or not, and the person who's solely the one source that it comes from is a questionable source, etc. And it's potentially a distraction, but once it's falsifiable, they'll use it as, see, they're not doing the evil things that everybody says they're doing. So they'll look for one to discredit, and if they can't find one to discredit, they'll plant one to discredit it, and then it will diffuse the fury or attempt. It's part of the fog of war is disinformation on both sides. But the problem is, a lot of the things that are being reported are nothing new. It's here's what's new. Remember back when DJT was called racist for closing off immigration to 7 particular countries?
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
7 particular countries. He said, we're no longer taking flights from these 7 countries. And everybody, oh, see, he's anti-Muslim. Right? He's anti-Muslim because all 7 of those countries are majority Muslim. See, he doesn't want any, and then that was everybody saying, see, he doesn't want any Muslims to come into our country. And I was like, okay, that's also propaganda. That's a narrative. It's like, no, there was a very specific reason. These 7 countries, there's a lot more than 7 Muslim countries, right? If he was anti-Muslim, he would have said no more immigration from any Muslim countries.
There's Muslims here.
It was only 7, right? It was only 7 countries. And the reason being was these 7 countries have demonstrated an inability to properly vet. They don't check papers and passports and documents and verification when they put people on airplanes going around the world, right? These 7 countries export terrorism, and that's why we can't take people from those countries. So he was called a Islamophobe and xenophobic and et cetera, and lo and behold, now we have an open border in our south where people from those countries are flooding across our border no matter what. And so what is new in this great nation of ours is that Harvard, Yale, right? I'm telling you, Playboy had a better response than Harvard, right? Have you
Dude,
seen
no
that?
joke.
Have
I
you seen
know.
that?
I know. Yes, I thought that was so funny. A little bit of cancel culture for the people who were talking junk about us. Yeah, here you go. Wow, because they got that Khalif chick she was a human plunger. We'll just put it to you like that right there.
Dude, I think this guy's talking to you.
Uh-oh, what am I doing here?
Look, he's talking to you. He's talking to you.
Haircut recommended. Is that me or you? Is it who's it?
I think it must be you.
Do I need a haircut? But like, okay, so please understand that I am dealing with a thing called male pattern baldness, and hairdos are kind of limited to what you can and can't do. And so either I shave it, look like a soccer coach, by the way, who was involved recently in the smuggling and the distribution of weapons with an illegal alien that was caught. That just came out. But anyways, I don't want to look like a soccer coach. And so I was like, hey.
He's talking to me, obviously.
Oh,
well, maybe he's talking to you. I don't know. Maybe he's talking to both of us.
Hey, you know what? You know what makes us look unprofessional? We didn't actually use Pantene. That was the problem. Because if we don't look good, you don't look good. Remember that
I got
commercial?
a question. I got a question, though.
Yeah.
What does unprofessional mean? Right? Unprofessional. What's the profession? Right? What profession is this? What is unprofessional? If I was a rock star and my profession is rock star, long hair makes me look professional. Right? If you're a punk rocker, then a mohawk makes you look professional. You are in your profession. So,
mechanic, auto technician. Hey, look at me.
I'm a Hollywood professional.
Hey, uniform
right?
and a Trump shirt.
Oh, that's unprofessional. You can't wear a t-shirt. But like I'm wearing a black t-shirt right now. That is the uniform of the Hollywood Insider, right? Black t-shirt.
Yeah, because that's
jeans,
what you do.
It's the uniform. I am a professional. Okay, so
you have skinny jeans on. You got skinny jeans too, don't you? Don't lie.
I appreciate it, Elisheva. Sorry, you should have a pronunciation key after your name, Mr. Jones.
Give us a line above with some letters there, and I'll help us out.
Okay, so real quick, I just have to mention this. What's happening right now? The horror, right? The evil and the horror, the brutality, the celebrating, like the celebration of brutality is really the thing that is red pilling a bunch of people, and also having the United States so full of sympathizers to violence, right? That you've got protesters on the streets cheering the brutality and blaming the victim, right? So there's a bunch of victim blaming. Israel is responsible for the sheer brutality of this. So 102 years ago in Berlin, Germany, a guy named Sogomon Talerian is on trial, right? This Armenian kid who assassinated a Muslim leader. This Armenian kid, there's a witness on the stand testifying as to the brutality of that Muslim leader, the things that he ordered his military to do, his actually police and military, right? This Muslim leader of this Ottoman Empire, this witness is on the stands testifying that they were told that the perpetrators of this brutality, what we're seeing in Israel, the perpetrators of that brutality were told that their God, right? Their God, the Muslim God, will give you a greater reward depending upon the level, not of killing enemies, of brutalizing and torturing enemies, right? It's not just about ending the lives of the enemies. In their, and this is a testimony in a courtroom, right? This is a testimony in a courtroom. This isn't some propaganda hurling insults or whatever, or just trying to color the other side. And this is over 100 years ago, right? This is not something new. This is in the DNA of their belief system, that the more brutal, parading bodies around in the street and making sure people suffer the unimaginable sufferings, that is not just a byproduct. That is the goal. And that's what's being exposed here, right? Evil exists in the world. So in the horror of this, God is shining brightly. If evil exists, and more people are unable to deny that fact today. Like, more people are unable to deny the fact of evil today than last week because they are seeing it with their own eyes. And God is shining a light on evil. And if evil exists, therefore good must exist, because evil cannot exist absence of good. Good can exist absent of evil, but evil cannot exist absent of good. So there's my, sorry, I just had to get
No, they're great. That's
I had to
great.
get that off my chest.
Well, no, so basically, the deal is with stuff is very bad over there. My heart goes out to all the people who are being injured, and the thing is, when it comes to how Israel went back at Palestine on the basis of possible, I'm not supporting either side. I'm just letting you know how propaganda works, and then how it turns around and creates a whole situation that never would have existed had not somebody produced a whole bunch of like really graphic. There's a term for it. The word's not coming to me right now, but they've been doing this since World War I, when they had to get people on board for that. They had to go out. There was a certain few military generals that did some stuff, and then they ended up reporting back to the Britons or something about how people were being murdered in such a brutal way. Next thing you know, this whole thing went completely left to center of field because everybody got behind it because their emotions were where they see. Ted Cruz shared a whole bunch of videos that came out of there that hadn't been confirmed. I mean, anybody can make up a scene, and especially when it comes to where we are at right now in the world of technology, in the world of information, it's key to have that cornerstone, marked, because to do things to distract people, to move money, to create policy, you have to have people accept what's going on. So that means that through any means necessary, in other words, the ends justify the means. They don't even really have to. Yes, there's a conflict going on, but if you can manufacture that conflict way worse than where it should be at, whether it's through fake videos or actual videos from people hyping things up because you have key players in different 3-letter organizations that do stuff across the world from America, you have these things pop off. And so then you have people go, wow, we need surveillance. We need this. I'll tell you what, since it's all this whole global thing has been popping off, we got stuff going on in Ukraine. China's trying to do stuff with Taiwan. You've got all these stuff happening in Canada. We need a one world way of dealing with this so that we can just get a hold of the whole thing. So we'll put people in charge of just the world, make a one world government. Yes, that sounds like a great idea. I'm tired of everything happening the way it is. So please bring in your one world government, make it all stop. And that's the real agenda here. They've actually, while this has been going on since Saturday, there was a big meeting at the World Economic Forum, and a bunch of legislators from the United States, a bunch of people from other countries got together and signed in a new agreement to ramp up their efforts to bring in the 2030 agenda, which is very desolate. When I say their main goal is for us to not eat organic food, they don't want to have us. Nobody's going to have a car. They'll make everything so expensive you have to rent it from the state. Those states' rights to be privileged through a social credit score. That is the agenda. And people are like, well, there's just no way. It's 2030. It's only this far away. Yes, there is a way. Now, they might not get the whole goal by 2030, but let me tell you what, they're going to beat the crap out of us till they do. And so the only way we can really make this happen is to laugh in their face. Don't buy their propaganda. Keep our eyes focused on the corrupt people in Washington right now. This is where we'll keep our eye on the ball, America, because I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening so that I can get you to understand, not you, but just maybe you too, but anybody that's watching this right now, that our eyes are being moved in another direction. Our emotions are being moved in another direction. Does anybody not remember what happened in 2020 when everybody went and casted their thing? Has everybody forgot that? Has that gone away? Has that gotten any better? So we need to keep our eye on the ball. Hence the whole thing. So what's some neat, do you have any ideas how we can kind of move people in a direction where, we need to keep focused, Michael? Is there any ideas?
Well, I think we need to be, I think things that are, we need to spend time on productive things rather than unproductive things. So I think anybody who, for example, is spending all their time watching prophecy videos, right? Anybody that's reading or going on YouTube and going, see, this was prophesied, you're wasting your freaking time. Sorry. right? So that is
a
not
lot of those
productive.
a lot of those things, by the way, are actually, you don't think for one second that three-letter organizations don't get behind those kind of propaganda scandals where they do they see
Right.
yeah. So that's
when
just
things
another right.
that stir up,
Mhm.
dissension or division, or to divide and conquer, right? That's the kind of the strategy.
Right.
However, I also want to caution against thinking that this is something that was orchestrated by globalists, right? So this is actually evidence of the collapse of the global agenda, right? The global agenda is, bring order and everybody under one world government, and this combined with the war between Russia and Ukraine, or technically the war between Russia and the United States, and the Azerbaijanis attacking Armenia, the Armenian. It's its own little region, not in Armenia, but that happened 2 weeks ago, and now this happening between Hamas, or
ISIS, you
Iran
mean?
and Israel.
ISIS.
So what this is what Steve Turley refers to as reterritorialization. In a world where there is not a single powerful authority, which used to be the United States, right? When the United States has collapsed under the Biden regime, no one is afraid of somebody coming in, right? It's we need to act now because Donald Trump is winning in the polls. That's what's happening here, right? The world is looking at the United States electoral system and Donald Trump's lead, and it's like everything they throw at him makes him stronger, and everything Biden does makes him weaker. Literally, Biden is setting records. For example, the presidential approval rating at this point in an incumbent that's about to run for a second term, at this point in their presidency, if they are below 45% approval, they lose. Guess where Biden's at this point? He's in the low 30s, right? This is record setting. So this is setting the globalists, they're shaking in their boots because they see that they have about a year and a few months before 2024 for the world to go insane, right? It's like none of this happened under Trump's administration. And if he is elected again, oh, there's Mom. All right, so Mom was having some computer difficulties. She's been missing for a couple of days, and she just got back in. Thank you for putting that up. Mom is back. All right, so let me just quickly explain Steve Turley's take on what's going on. So under Trump, if you recall, he brokered some never before seen peace negotiations between 4 or 5 Arabic countries and Israel, the Jewish nation, right? He brokered peace accords, right? The Abraham Accords, or whatever they were called. Nobody ever thought that would happen. Nobody ever thought there would be any glimmer of peace in the Middle East, and it was happening. And so one of the main Sunni, because there's Sunni Muslims and Shiite Muslims, and Iran represents Shiite Muslims, and Saudi Arabia represents Sunni Muslims, and that's the vast majority of Muslims on the planet. 80 to 85% are the quote unquote peace loving type, not the Shiite type, the violent type. And so Saudi Arabia and Israel were normalizing relationships. In other words, commerce and trade and travel and tourism, right? They were normalizing, for the first time ever in history, normalizing relationships. But Saudi Arabia had one little caveat in that. Saudi Arabia was like, except for that Palestinian thing, that has to be resolved before our relationships are normalized. And Iran, sponsor of terror, not wanting the Saudi Arabians and Israel to have normalization, get an influx of cash, and are like, all right, let's do something to ruin that. And they inspire Palestine. And so now, and it worked. Saudi Arabia says, hey, what's going on? We're going to hold off on any peace with you. So it was successful. And so what Iran sees Israel as is the United States in their territory, right? They see Israel simply as a proxy for the United States. And so Iran is ruining the efforts of the United States to bring peace in the Middle East by inspiring terrorism. And that can only happen because of the collapse of global control. And so you see these independent forces. This was nobody saw this coming, right?
Or supposedly somebody saw this coming. They said it was the worst.
our intel, right? Our intel. You can't think the United States government is what's the term? Shoot, they're not all united on one page. If you have intel people, you have pro-Israel, pro-Jew people working in our government, right? And anti-people working in our government. So
Yeah.
anybody in the intelligence agencies that would have caught this would have alerted, right? And so the collapse, what we did in Afghanistan, sent $85 billion worth of military arsenal. Where's that showing up? Oh, in Palestine, right? Our collapse as a superpower is resulting in these people being emboldened to act. It's not some global cabal saying, all right, now you, because Islamic terrorism does not agree with globalism. They're not going to bow and kowtow to globalism. It's when the things happen that the globalists try to use it for their advantage. It's not.
That's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. You won't get these people to do it, but if you get these
never let a crisis go to waste, right? Never let a crisis go to waste.
So,
manipulate.
So that would explain the reason why they ramped it up. But I kind of and I like how you said that. Totally a good way to say that. So when I come back, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I kind of feel like that maybe there was people that did know this was going to happen, and they let it happen because they need that crisis to not go to waste. They needed a new crisis to move money. They need a new way to allow people to become more emotional, and that distract. A lot of stuff happening with the Bidens that's causing terrible numbers. Of course, what he's doing now makes it worse. So it's not that didn't help out, but I think that, because I look back on history when it comes to other significant events that seemed like they could have been prevented, like 9/11, the Merle City bombing with Timothy McVeigh, the Pearl Harbor. So, because people often forget Pearl Harbor was what they just installed a brand new radar system. Then they fired this thing up, and this radar system had not been they didn't just build it and be like, okay, let's see. They had already tested it in other places to know that, yes, this is actually an effective way to detect aircraft coming in. And they flipped this thing on. And so, hey, Captain, we've got a lot of looks like airplanes out there. Don't worry about it. That machine is messing up. Don't you pay any attention to that. They couldn't send out like some airplanes to go, well, what is that? Because then it wasn't long after that. Here come all the kamikaze people. And then that crisis got a whole bunch of people emotional. Then it was okay to go over there and drop atomic bombs on these people. And so, there's so many things, like the Patriot Act with 9/11. You've got what happened, the pretense to the Patriot Act with the Merle City bombing that could have been that everybody, if anybody, it wouldn't have taken anybody to realize what was going on. I mean, I almost knew what it was. And I was like 9. I'm like, hey, what's that guy doing with that truck? But anyhow, long story short, they may have missed this one, but it's just, I think that we've got there are good people out there, and they probably tried to get information out, and it got repressed or something. Because who gets 100 lawnmower?
Let me. We've only got under 2 minutes left. So Israeli intelligence and U.S. intelligence traditionally are the most, high-tech, cutting-edge intelligence agencies. So sure, maybe somebody in the United States, if they caught wind of this, look the other way. But Israeli intelligence would not, right? Israeli intelligence, here's the issue, and this is something that's not reported, is Israel in their government has become extremely conservative. Right, the Israeli government right now is they are very, very, they have streets in Israel named after Trump. Right, they're extremely conservative, and so in that side there are the liberals, even liberal Jews in the United States that hate what's going on in Israel. They hate the shift, the political shift. Right, that it's shifted rightward over there, and the United States under Trump was like their greatest ally, and the United States under Biden is the reverse. But sorry, I got distracted. Oh, so as technology advances, it becomes more difficult, right? If we are not investing in the cutting edge, and if we're more concerned about the gender or the color of skin of our military professionals, we're not concerned about having the strongest military. We're not concerned about being the most advanced military. We're concerned about nonsensical things, and that is the enemy. We are an occupied country. We're occupied by an enemy ideology that makes us weak and susceptible. And as military technology continues to advance, our enemies get the upper hand, and that's what happened here. They use technology. All All right, we gotta go. Love you.
Hey,
Man,
okay.
this goes so fast.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank everybody in the comment section. Keep your eyes on America. Okay, what's going on is bad. Let's get into America. Back to what's going on in the Biden. Back to the corruption. Watch the polls. Very weak. 2024 means a lot, guys. We are out. Thank you.
Love you all. Love you all.
Love you all. We out. I got it. We try to get out. There we go.